not even gonna have the sports betting for the leagues that had problems with illegal match fixing.
Gambling sponsors are now targeting predominantly young men through esports, and today Riot Games is basically about to make the whole thing much worse. But just so this is in context, this is the same industry that's linked to a 25% rise in US bankruptcy filings, so that's lovely.
That is what they're promoting. It's horrible. It's actually so bad.
Riot Games, the creators of League of Legends and Valorant, have just dropped an absolute bomber of a policy change which affects all aspects of esports and has enraged a lot of the online audience. They are opening Pandora's box and effectively allowing for sports betting sponsorship within their esports. This is not only a crazy thing for Riot to do, but has also opened up a lot of huge debate about the ethics of this whole thing.
I think it's a good thing for the sport. I think it is a depressingly bad thing for humanity.
Riot is allowing betting sponsors for Valorant and League of Legends esports teams. Hooray, just what the world needs. Gambling endorsements squarely targeted at males aged 16 to 25. Great job, Riot.
And by making this move, they give every other esports league justification to follow. Basically, these companies know exactly who they are reaching, and now they have a direct pipeline. Here's the change. Sports betting sponsorships are coming to pro teams in North America, Europe, and the Middle East. Now, Riot first considered this in December 2024, but now the president, John Needham, has published this lovely blog post. It outlines what's happening and why they're doing it, plus how they plan to minimize risk.
Why we are opening betting sponsorships in esports and how we're doing it responsibly. Let me help you with this one, Riot. There is no way to do this responsibly. The only responsible way to do it is to not do it, meaning that, in fact, you have been responsibly handling it to this point, and when you put up this blog post, you stopped handling it responsibly.
For years, Riot has held a pretty firm line on this: no gambling associated with them or their esports. But now they've managed to do a complete 180 on this, and effectively Western teams from their biggest pro leagues can now partner up with betting companies as sponsors.
I've predicted this how many times, chat? How many times? How many times? I have said everybody in esports will have either a Gamba sponsor or whatever, or a mobile Gamba sponsor over and over again. I've said this before, because it's just, esports is not profitable. And when you're in that space and you're already committed, you have to find a shortcut, and that's usually gambling sponsors.
Esports isn't particularly profitable at the team level, so increasing sponsorship dollars for teams, plus Riot taking steps to regulate this, is a positive for me. The sport is maturing, and this is the result.
The teams have been asking for gambling sponsors for years, obviously, because it's a lot of money.
So you've got to ask, why? Why now? After all of these years of saying no, what is the official reason that Riot could possibly give for saying yes to sports betting? The answer actually starts with this number: $10.7 billion US dollars. According to Sports Trader, that's how much was spent on sports betting associated with League of Legends and Valorant last year. But here's the crazy part about all of this. We need to look at where the betting is actually happening. Riot estimates that around 70% of all of the betting revenue is unregulated and, in some cases, illegal, which could expose their audience to all sorts of problems if unchecked.
Right now, on average, across the US, the power balance swings towards gambling companies rather than the regulators. Underfunded and overworked state regulators are struggling to cope with the massive, well-funded explosion in online gambling, and so regulation of existing rules is inconsistent and weak.
We believe it's better to engage in allowing betting sponsorships thoughtfully, carefully, and with the right protections, than to sit on the sidelines while risks to fans and integrity go unchecked. Our approach: guardrails first. As the publisher of the world's two biggest esports, we take seriously our duty to teams, players, and fans to safeguard the ecosystem we've built and position it for long-term success.
They view this as a way to guide their audience and fans to a much safer betting experience associated with League of Legends and Valorant. Their argument is that since this exists, they might as well be the ones to perpetuate it, which is a bit of a cop-out, but might actually have some genuine validity to it.
The American Gaming Association estimated that Americans were spending about $150 billion on wagers annually, with only a small fraction actually going through legal means in Nevada. Then finally, the head of the NBA came out and said it. If Americans were spending billions on sports bets, American newspapers and media were publishing betting lines, and other countries were finding success in regulating nationwide gambling, then why not just legalize it?
By legitimizing it, by making it more normal, giving it way more exposure, will you reduce the average damage done per individual, but actually cause far more harm overall because you've just went and expanded the market to way more people by making it easier to access? And would that actually mean, ran over time, that you'd start to find more really, really bad problem gambling cases?
There is no faster way to lose everything that you have through addiction than through gambling. Because if I start doing drugs, I'm gonna be like, oh, I kind of like drugs. And then I'm gonna take another one. And then I'm gonna get into a harder drug. But I always gotta go through this point of like, I gotta go back to the dealer, right? It's like a transaction has to happen. And sure, eventually I could OD and die. But on gambling, motherfucker, if you find out that you are addicted to gambling, you could literally ruin your entire life in a singular night. You could bet everything in a single night.
Betting at any time for
Like,
any reason.
For any team,
Constantly.
no research, no thought process, betting based on the most recent random thing you saw. That is what they're promoting. It's horrible. It's actually so bad. God, it like ruins people's lives all the time. And I don't understand. It's so weird to me that so few people hold this opinion now.
You know, sports betting isn't for everyone. Yeah, no shit. And some fans have strong feelings about it. Yeah, no shit. And we respect that. Do you though? However, the reality is that betting activity already exists around our sports and will continue whether we engage with it or not.
So of course, the logic that, oh, this exists, so we might as well introduce sports betting to all of our fans, had the internet ablaze. People do not agree with this take, and I don't know how to feel about it either. You are not doing it responsibly. You are promoting a harmful habit to a young audience. There's no way to promote betting responsibly. Explanation: hello, I like money. Guess the Exalted Skins gacha BS did not pay enough, huh? While we're offering betting sponsorships, the Saudis offered a large enough check for it. There, saved you the read. This is a sign they are struggling, but not bad for the market. Insane money in there and already drives all other sports, including esports. Orgs will get filthy rich from that and viewer numbers might recover a little. Seems like the cost of running their dead game is finally catching up. Esports is saved and profitable again, with safeguards to protect competitive integrity and the fan experience. Good luck with that.
The funniest part about it is, while sponsorships are only open to the Tier 1 LoL esports and VCT teams in EMEA, the overall program will support the growth and advancement of the Tier 2 esports teams. The Tier 2 esports teams that had problems with match fixing because of these betting websites. There was literally problems in Tier 2 Valorant where the players would get paid to lose.
Yes, this whole situation is one of the biggest glaring contradictions in Riot's statement. They claim to want to do this to fix betting, but they already had a sports betting / match fixing problem with one of their lower Valorant leagues. And concerns go deeper than that. Some people are highly worried that this exposes children to betting at a young age. Basically, how the formula would work is that they'd slow drip these kids with their gacha system and slowly introduce them into the sports betting world as they grow up.
There's a coffee brand that wanted to get in Japan, and they worked with somebody or did some market research or something and found that nobody in Japan likes coffee. They all like tea. So they started introducing like kids candies and stuff that were coffee flavored, so that the kids would get used. It was Nescafe, I don't know, it was someone. The kids would get used to the flavor of coffee, and then they kept doing stuff like that. And now coffee is like an enormous industry in Japan. They got into Japan not by convincing the adults that it was good. They got into Japan by effectively advertising to children through getting them used to the flavor.
We even have some people mentioning that in a lot of sports where sports betting was introduced, fan harassment has increased drastically.
Also, toxicity skyrockets because moron A hears streamer B say how good Team C is and then decides to bet the house on them. Team C then loses, and then both the players and the streamer get spammed with death threats, end quote. And that's really true, actually. A recent report in The Atlantic revealed that in MLB, 78% of players said that betting had changed how fans treated them, with some of them reporting death threats received after a poor showing on the field.
So Riot saying they've got guardrails is great PR, but at the end of the day, they don't even want to be associated with sports betting. They've managed to ban the visibility of these sports betting companies on their main feeds and their main broadcasts. We'll see how long that lasts. But essentially, they don't want to go all in on this either. How you cook a toad is you start it in cold water and you slowly increase the heat, and that dude is not going to jump out. Them not willing to give these sponsors broadcasting or t-shirt placement puts more pressure on the orgs themselves to figure out where exactly they're going to place these sponsorships and how they're going to work out deals that are favorable towards the organizations. A lot of this, unfortunately, seems like it might end up falling onto the players' shoulders, who will probably have to associate with and do shout-outs for these sport betting companies. Riot, as a billion-dollar organization, seems to be walking a very thin line here between being able to regulate this and this becoming a major problem that they create for other people. So this really boils down to one question, which I don't have the answer to. Who is responsible for the risk? Should Riot Games really care? This is Lois signing off. Peace.